Okay, guys. Have you ever noticed how more and more people in their 20s are saying, I don't think I want to have kids? It's not just a personal decision, it's becoming a generational shift. For Gen Zers, choosing not to have kids isn't about rebellion or being too online. It's about survival, financial anxiety, and questioning what kind of future are we really bringing someone into. And it makes a lot of sense. Let's start with the most obvious reason: money. Raising a child in the US now costs over $300,000 on average, from birth to the age of 18. That doesn't include college, tuition, inflation, or unexpected medical bills, and that number just keeps growing with more potential factors throughout the years. Meanwhile, Gen Z is entering adulthood during the highest inflation rates in a decade, soaring housing costs, wage stagnation, terrible job market, and a crippling student debt that most of us can barely get out of in our 40s. Some of us are barely affording text therapy enough as it is, let alone a daycare. You, you can't expect a generation that's struggling to buy groceries without checking their bank account first to commit a lifelong financial responsibility that grows more expensive by the year. We already have student loans. We don't need to add another loan, an embodiment of a loan basically on top of that. And it's not just about the money, it's about the quality of life we could even offer a child. No one wants to bring a kid into a life where they might suffer more than they thrive. I mean, hence look at Gen Z. We're statistically the first generation to do worse than their parents in America. And we have to think to ourselves, what kind of life am I going to provide my child if we're going to do worse than our parents? That means our kids are most likely going to do worse than we are. What does that even look like? And am I emotionally prepared to see that come to fruition? This is the part that hurts to admit, and it's kind of hard to talk about because it's really a depressing topic. Climate change is accelerating. Politics are more unstable, especially now as I'm recording this. The job market is terrible, more automated, less secure. Healthcare is becoming more unaffordable, if that was even possible. Stability in society is becoming more unstable. Any benefit that your job gives you, they're slowly taking away. They're trying to brush it off as, oh, I can't provide, or oh, I can't guarantee, or oh, maybe. But in reality, they don't want to spend more money on us. And I think that's the stark belief that automation might just put us out of a job. And how do we provide for a family when AI could be taking our jobs and making us basically destitute? We can also talk about the mental health issues that are rising, not just in America, but all across the world from these societal stressors. We lived, Gen Z specifically, we lived through mass shootings, pandemics, lockdowns, a constant stream of global crisis since we were kids, and they've just been nonstop, like to the point of almost complete desensitization for the protection of our sanity. Sometimes it feels like it's better to just ignore what's going on around us instead of having to face it because it is way too scary. It puts you in such a dispense of disbelief. And honestly, not gonna lie, I feel like at a certain point it's just gonna trigger some type of mental psychosis for a lot of us to realize that this is just rigged from the very beginning. Very few of us will leave out of here unscathed, and very few of us will live our lives and actually be, for the most part, very successful. I mean, we keep trying, and that's what I like about humanity is that no matter how much the odds are stacked against us, we keep trying, and we do make a dent and make a change, and sometimes come out on top. I think that's one of our best characteristics as a species, if not our only characteristic as a species. There's a fear that having kids now is like handing someone a sinking ship and saying, do something with this. We treat each generation of kids like pet hamsters, put them in unusually cruel environments, and get upset when they struggle. Like, what do you mean you need food and water to live? What do you mean you can't run on your little hamster wheel forever without burning out? We live in a time where the future feels uncertain and unfair. Um, like I said, it feels like even when I had a conversation with my loved ones, they were explaining like no matter where I look, left, right, up, down, behind me, everything's burning, everything's on fire. It's so overwhelming. I can't even begin to unpack what happened, why did it happen, and how to fix it. That used to be the case. You used to be able to unpack what's happening around you, do breathing exercises and try to figure out a plan to fix this. But what if the problem is way too big for you alone to solve? What if this is more of a societal problem, or not even just a societal problem in this country? What if this is a problem within our species, that we're just collapsing, that we've bitten off way more than we can chew? But anyway, let me get back to the topic. Let's talk about let's talk about emotional trauma. A lot of Gen Zers grew up in broken homes. We've seen divorces, absentee parents, addiction, abuse, mental health issues go untreated for years, decades, sometimes centuries if we've seen it multiple generations at a time. We've had to emotionally raise ourselves or become the therapist friend to our parents way too early, or to our loved ones. We're hyper aware of how much damage poor parenting can cause, and we don't want to repeat those cycles. We even see it with Gen Alpha and how millennials are quote unquote raising them. If by raising you mean just feed them some food a couple times a day and just let them do whatever they want, let's we want to call that raising, 'cause I guess the bar is kind of lowered. But we see how they're turning out and how they're struggling in school and in society and socially. Personally, for me, I'm not giving my child a tablet until maybe middle school. I'm gonna be realistic. I wouldn't wait until high school. I'll probably just do it like middle school. I don't know. I don't know. I can't protect my kid from everything, but I can at least make sure that those formative years, those like first 10 to 12 years, are somewhat pure, so they can have a childhood. I feel like that's what I'm happy to have had as a Gen Zer. Is I still had a childhood. There was still a time for me where I didn't have technology and I was playing games, board games, card games, playing tag, hide and go seek, monkey lava tag, all that type of stuff. And those are really good memories to look back on. But Gen Alpha will never have, a lot of them will never have those types of memories because it's mostly just screens. And as someone who spent most of their high school years on a screen, whether that was Xbox or my phone or whatever, it was kind of a blur. Like, I don't know, it doesn't to your long term memory. It's just nothing you do on the screen is really worth remembering like that unless you can share that memory with other people. But that's kind of like a story for a different day. I was going through a lot. It is what it is. But I think being hyper aware as a child of how other people's actions can affect us long term, how it affects the social dynamics of our families, our friendships, realizing that most people just suck in general and we have no control over that, you know? But I think it makes us not want to have kids more because it's like looking back on a lot of the movies I watched where it was normal for the, main character to get bullied at school and the parents were just shrugging it off, and it's like you put a child on this earth to endure so much that they never agreed to, that they don't deserve, by the way. It's literally just lifing. And I don't think it's the fact that I don't think it's the fact that like you gave birth to this child. It's more so the fact that like now that this child's on this earth, you seem to completely not really give a fuck unless it's a life or death scenario. And I think the only reason a lot of people give care if it's a life or death scenario are for two reasons. One, you actually do like love that child, or the bleak scenario is if I neglect this child too much and it becomes too public, I can go to jail. Because that is also a possibility if you are too neglectful and it becomes public information. Like that's why a lot of our parents don't like us talking about what happens at home to other people because it makes them look bad. But not only that, but it can attract the attention of CPS and it puts them in harm's way. Um, there is a little bit of selfishness when it does come to parenting. There is a little bit of I love you, but I love myself a little bit more, kind of. That people say that, oh yeah, I will like sacrifice my life for my child, but most of those people have never been put in a situation where they actually had to do that. So to me, it's just words until proven otherwise. I think my parents would definitely give their lives for me. That's just me personally, but I've just seen so many other parents be so fake and just say what's the most popular opinion because I want to be socially accepted by my peers. But behind closed doors, it's a totally different story. Um, I don't want to repeat the cycles in my for my kid. I want to heal and deal with my crap before I have a child. I don't want to create a mini me in the sense of they're the replica of every part of myself that I hate. You know, I might need more therapy on that. I'm not sure. That's kind of getting into a more of a semantic way of thinking about it, but yeah, even just existing as a single adult is expensive. Like I said, we a lot of us live with our parents, live in cars, or have roommates, and I can't imagine myself having a child where I have like two or three other roommates. have to hope to God that one of them's not like a pedophile or anything like that. And we're all young adults, so it's not like we're all going to be responsible and morally ethical and considerate, because a lot of us aren't. Let's just be real, a lot of us are not considerate. But when you're raising a little human, you really do have to put a lot of sacrifices into keeping that person safe. You love that kid, and it can't really fend for itself, barely can speak up for itself. It can't do anything for itself right now, and it actually does need you. It's just a lot for a single adult, and not just to mention dating in general. It's just getting really unstable. Um, yeah, unfortunately, a lot of people are having kids before they're married. I do understand that you don't have to be married in order to have a successful parenting relationship for your kid, but I don't know. I think the marriage kind of, it gives you a foundation at least. There's something there instead of just having feelings and just going based off vibes. But to each their own. I mean, I'm not judging. Like I said, I'm getting into like the abstract thought of my of my psyche a little bit, because I don't really have uh I don't feel strongly at this point about how anyone really chooses to live their life. For the most part, I'm still figuring out as well. I'm just trying to give you guys reasons why having a kid might not be the best thing right now for you and for that child. So yeah, Gen Z isn't being dramatic, even though I just was. We're being realistic. We're asking hard questions, even if the hard questions we ask ourselves, we probably wouldn't like the answer to. It's depressing. It's bleak. Is it really ethical to bring a child into this world? We don't know. Can we afford to raise them well? We don't know. Are we emotionally prepared to guide another human through life where we're trying to figure everything out ourselves in real time? I don't know. I never asked my mom, was there anything that you taught me that you regretted? Like, because I think as adults too, we have to normalize the fact that we can still change our minds. We're not just completely set. And I feel like if you're completely set in your ways and you're just too stubborn to change, that's more dangerous than being flexible and being able to change your mind. Because at least you're still growing as a person, whereas you can just run into a wall 1,000 times with your opinion and hit nothing, and you're just gonna keep doing the same thing because you're stubborn. Um, and honestly, thinking about these questions is our responsibility as a generation too. It kind of just makes me feel sad that it took this long to figure out what we want as adults prior to previous generations where everything was kind of like a blueprint. Go to school, get married, have kids. We're actually doing some critical thinking and actually asking ourselves, what type of parent do I want to be? What type of life do I want for myself? And would I make a good parent? These are hard questions to ask. A lot of people sometimes superficially ask themselves these questions and get superficial answers. Some people like to fish for compliments. They like to ask this question to someone else instead of digging in, within and trying to see, okay, what attributes do I have to contribute to this child and what attributes do I need to work on? A lot of us don't like to ask ourselves these questions. We like to ask the external world their opinion of us and whether we will be a good parent or not. I personally don't think that's accurate. I think you actually have to take a good, long look at yourself and be really, really honest. Like, the only person who knows you more than you is no one. So there's food for thought. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe if you want more Gen Z content. And thank you for listening to my little TED talk. Wasn't supposed to be this long, but anyway, have a good one, guys. I'll see you in the next one.